We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Friday, May 15th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. And joining us today is Kyun.
Happy Friday!
Happy Friday! And also Wonmi's with us.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we're finally at the end of the work weekend here in Korea. Today is actually Teachers' Day. It's a meaningful occasion when students and parents express their gratitude to the teachers who have guided and inspired them. And for many Koreans, it brings back warm memories of pinning carnations on teachers and singing songs to thank them for their dedication and support. But what does Teachers' Day look like today in Korea, Kyun?
Teachers' Day looks a lot different and somewhat toned down compared to a few decades ago. Traditionally, it was quite an emotional day with visible celebrations, and like you just mentioned, students gave carnations to teachers, they sang songs, classrooms held small parties, alumni actually visited former teachers, and parents often sent gifts, cakes, or flowers to express their gratitude for educating their children. But modern Teachers' Day has become much more restrained and cautious, and one major reason is the anti-graft law, commonly called the Kim Young-nan Act. Now, under the law and in principle, parents are not allowed to provide any form of gift, including food, flowers, snacks, or condolence, or even congratulatory money to any teacher who can actually affect a student's grade or school life. So instead of gifts, many schools encourage just handwritten thank you letters or even verbal appreciation from students to teachers. And some schools even send notices asking parents not to send anything at all on Teachers' Day. Now, another reason is the rising controversy over student rights versus teachers' authority, and repeated cases of parents becoming excessively involved in schools by filing complaints to teachers for child abuse.
And to kind of highlight how serious the rule is being taken, I had a friend who was wondering what to get her professor during college, and she got her coffee, which sounds harmless, but then the professor was really very careful about not breaking that law. So my friend had to drink both coffees that day.
Oh, really?
So
So, because I heard
really-
that the teacher receiving and the parent or the student giving that gift can both be penalized.
Right.
Yeah, for
People do
making that kind of transaction.
Right. And
yeah.
people do really take this seriously. So how do you celebrate, I guess, Teachers'
Wow,
Day?
it's just for a cup of coffee?
Right.
Okay, now
You
I
should
know
drink both
why.
coffees.
Now I know why things are toning down a little bit, because my experience is pretty similar with Ki-hoon. You know, back in 2015, 2016, when I was in middle school, which was about 10 years ago, I still remember me gathering up with my classmates and planning out what surprise events or what small gifts we would give to teachers. But nowadays, I'm not quite sure how the younger students, the new Gen Alpha, are actually doing it. But I can definitely feel that, as Kyun said, things are toning down a little bit, because when I was in middle school, again, I could see some random adults. On Teachers' Day, I saw random adults walking around in the hallway, and I would go like, who are these people? And later I heard that they were previous students of our teachers. When I look at my peers nowadays, people my age, the Gen Zs, we don't see that many people visiting their old previous teachers nowadays. So things are definitely changing a little bit.
Right, I do see that too. So Teachers' Day used to feel like a much bigger event with former students returning to campus and schools just buzzing with appreciation. These days, the tradition seems a bit more low-key, which may reflect how the relationship between students and teachers is changing over time. And that's why we're going to talk more about this. But first, let's take a look at the screen. Teachers' Day is a time to honor educators who dedicate themselves to sharing their knowledge and helping others grow. But this meaningful occasion also highlights a growing concern in Korea. Many teachers say they feel their authority is weakening and that respect for the profession is declining. Today on News Generation, we take a closer look at why teachers' authority continues to decline, what can be done to restore respect in the classroom, and the messages of gratitude people would like to share with the teachers who made a difference in their lives. Just as we saw in the video, Teachers' Day is both a celebration and a moment to reflect on the challenges facing educators today. To better understand the issue, it's important to look at where things stand now. So what is the current state of teachers' authority in Korea today?
To answer your question, we need to look at the past in order to better understand the current state of teachers' authority. So in the past, teachers in Korea held extremely high social status and authority to a point where there was even a saying, 군사부일체, which means that the king, one's teacher, and one's father are one, therefore deserves equal respect. And there was even a saying that one should not even step on a teacher's shadow, showing how much authority they had in society. And becoming a school teacher was once ranked as one of the most respected and preferred professions in the country. It's a big contrast to the current state. And in recent years, however, teachers' authority and rights have declined, leading to various social problems. In particular, public concern intensified in 2023 after a teacher in her early years of teaching took away her own life, after reportedly suffering from repeated complaints and harassment from students' parents. This incident brought the issue of declining teacher rights and calls for stronger protection of teachers grew much louder, eventually leading to the revision of 5 major laws aimed at protecting teachers' rights.
So that contrast is quite striking, especially considering how highly teachers were once respected. And despite legal reforms, many educators say they still do not feel adequately protected. So how serious is the problem of teachers' rights violation today, Won-bi?
Right. So unfortunately, there are many recent incidents that show how serious this problem is. To start off, there was a clip that went viral, and it was a clip of students who were smoking and students who are obviously minors. This went viral not only because minors were smoking, but they were cursing and yelling to a teacher who was trying to stop them. And another worse example is students physically attacking teachers using weapons and planning the attack in advance. So more and more people are becoming more concerned about the safety of teachers and our school environments. So therefore, people are voicing out that the legal protection for teachers must be reinforced.
So those incidents show that the issue is far from resolved. And to find meaningful solutions, we first need to understand what is driving this continued decline. So why does teachers' authority continue to see a decline in Korea, Kyun?
Various reasons have been cited to explain the decline in teachers' authority. Within the education sector, the enactment of Child Abuse Punishment Act in 2014 put greater emphasis and focus on students' rights, while protection for teachers' authority and educational activities within classrooms remained relatively insufficient. Now, at the same time, others argue that the weakening of teachers' authority is partly due to how teachers mistreated students in the past, where corporal punishment and violations of students' rights was considered the norm. Now, this led to growing distrust toward teachers and the public education system. Now, another major issue has been excessive complaints, like I mentioned just before, from parents, particularly in the 2023 case. Some also point to South Korea's low birth rate, arguing that as children become increasingly precious to families, parents have become overprotective, being coined the term helicopter parents even, watching over them and controlling most of their behaviors, creating additional challenges for schools and teachers as it kind of restricts what they can do in classrooms, because knowing that any of these students' parents can always file a complaint and continue to harass them, they feel that, they feel very, I guess, they don't have much power in the classroom, no authority at all, and they end up doing nothing. And that could also cause more complaints saying, why aren't you doing anything for my students? You're not teaching them, they're not learning anything. So I think this is a very complex issue that we all need to consider and think of solutions moving forward.
Like I said, I think it's really important to think of solutions, because there was a time when, I didn't go to Korean school, but I know from a lot of my friends that physical punishment was a very common thing. So I think this is a thing that's very unique to Korea. But now, I guess people are now focused on how the teachers experience now as well.
Now we see students hitting teachers.
Yes.
Right.
Things have changed a lot.
Glad we're talking about this today. So this all points to a very complex mix of legal, cultural, and parental factors. And the changing role of teachers in society may also be part of the story. So how have broader social changes contribute to the declining teachers' authority, Wongbin?
Right, so there are a few big factors that play into this. The first factor is definitely individualism. As Kyun explained earlier, in the past, teachers were considered to be in charge of everything about the students, not just their academic grade or performance, but also their morality and their general guidance in life as well. But nowadays, they're just expected to only interact with the students academically or in the classroom during classes. And parents are also a big reason. I just want to emphasize it as, again, long story short, overprotective parents are blocking teachers from doing anything to their children. And this leaves teacher with one choice, which is to not do anything.
So like my mom actually works at elementary school, and she said a lot of teachers feel like they actually are kind of walking on eggshells because parents are so involved. Yeah. And it's kind of common also in Korea for teachers to give their numbers out to parents. So then they find parents calling them during the weekends. Yes. When it's not work hours. Yes. So it is a very interesting thing. So to hear more actually in-depth perspective on this, we're actually going to talk to a teacher from a different country. And that conversation will take place right after break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out Channel Arirang News. Click Posts. And cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Dominique, who's a teacher in the US. Hello, Dominique. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So Dom, before we start, can you tell us how long you've been teaching and what grade you teach, and also how teachers in the US are seeing a decline in classroom authority?
Yes, definitely. So I am a special education teacher. My role has different names. Sometimes you might hear it as special education teacher support. You might hear it as resource room teacher. But this is my 6th year of teaching overall and my 2nd year in this particular role. Yes.
Wow, 6 hard years. Okay. Continue. You may continue.
So definitely. In response to the decline in teacher authority in the US, first, I do want to say that while this job comes with many challenges, I do love teaching, and there are so many ideas that come to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is my personal experience as a student, in which it was absolutely necessary that I listened to and respected my teachers to get the most out of the lesson and learn how to conduct myself authentically and appropriately. I believe that everyone deserves to be treated with respect, but now in classrooms, society even, they all reflect an attitude of respect is earned as opposed to given. So countless peers of mine have shared their experiences on feeling disrespected by students, families, even leadership. I've had families calling me at 8:30 p.m. to talk about homework and have been cursed at for calling multiple times in the morning to learn whether their child's just coming to school or not, sometimes without ever having met this person face to face. Now, this does reflect a small percentage of the families I've worked with, but every teacher in my circle has a story like this. I think of my past students who have talked back, screamed at me, thrown tantrums, pushed desks, kicked chairs, who I still care for deeply and I'm so proud of when I see them succeed. But such behaviors typically, they'll lead to a parent phone call or a meeting. And sometimes the responses from families match the situation and the behaviors taken care of. Sometimes it's not that easy, and it actually leads to learning that the student truly needs more support. So continuous partnership between the school and the families is necessary. Other times I'm, met with a lack of follow through on the family's behalf, and we find ourselves kind of having the same conversation again and again. And I learned really quickly in my career that there's a lot of similarities between teaching and working in customer service. And then we have to throw in having to be a counselor, a surrogate parent, a liaison, and then sometimes even a nurse. I've had to teach 9-year-olds how to tie their shoes as well. But there's a sort of dissonance that kind of goes around when it comes to teachers doing everything, but also not doing enough, which aligns with what you mentioned before about teachers having to walk on eggshells. sometimes like we have families who come in with like their preconceptions about teachers and educations, and then that trickles down to their kids. Then the kids take their frustrations out on their teachers. And then other times some families just don't even know how to respond to how their kids are behaving, goodness. But then we do have instances where it's actually the administration, and it seems like administration's just trying to make families happy. And the cycle kind of just keeps going. But then there are times where like we have families of all backgrounds and sizes, and they're just not home with their kids to guide them because they're out there working. They're trying to survive and make sure their kids have food, and they just don't have time to be at home because the cost of living has gone up so much. And just in general, there's so many factors that play into teachers' authority in the classroom overall. It's really very nuanced.
Thanks for sharing that. Have there been any cases that spark debate about teachers' authority in the US or even in the state that you're living in?
Well, when I think of cases, the first things that come to mind, honestly, are just the videos that we see on social media, as opposed to, like a more serious case. They exist, but the first thing that comes to mind are the social media posts where we see these kids getting in their teachers' faces and yelling at them or launching a book across the room after their phone gets taken. And the debate often centers around who was truly out of line. Yes, there are definitely teachers who don't respond appropriately to the given situation, but then there are also students who are doing the same thing. So it's a lot of back and forth, and it's hard sometimes to get a clear answer, but everyone has their opinions.
Right. So based on the examples that you've given us, I guess the states and Korea are going through the same problem. So now, what systems do you think can be put in place to better protect the teachers like you?
So first, I think of a need for administration and curriculum that comprehensively support teacher development and student behavior and emotional well-being. I've seen firsthand many times how consistent support and socio-emotional education for kids really works to develop their overall, like their holistic development. And then if teachers are not trained in properly responding to students' behaviors and their emotional needs, how are they going to effectively do their job and help these children learn? Because at the end of the day, we're still in the classroom and the learning still needs to happen. Then going on to administration, if teachers don't believe that their administration will train and support them, then how will they feel comfortable taking on this challenging role? Despite, in the US at least, there have been changes state-based that have been made to have the teacher pathway become easier. But there is still a teacher shortage despite that. And I've seen many first-year teachers quit within the first 2 months of school. Then I think of the need to support families more as the cost of living rises, keeping them at work and limiting the time that they spend raising their children. Like daycare, after school, tutoring programs, summer camps, they exist, but they're not always accessible everywhere. And then, like I've mentioned a few times now, just the greater matter of lowering the cost of living so that families can be with their children, but that does launch an even longer conversation.
I'm just like, my mind is reeling because I didn't know how similar the situation would be like in the US. Like, we're also dealing with high living costs, and also working moms find it so difficult to balance both taking care of their kids and also, sending their kids to school. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us today, Dominique.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we just spoke with a teacher in the US about whether American educators are also experiencing decline in their classroom authority, the kinds of incidents that fuel debate over teachers' rights, and what systems can be put in place to better protect these teachers. With those perspectives in mind, it's time to focus again what can be done here in Korea. So what solutions can help prevent the decline of teachers' authority, Kyun?
According to reports and accounts from the education community, repeated false or malicious child abuse allegations filed with the intention of harassing teachers have become a major source of stress for educators. And many argue that stronger penalties should be imposed on parents for these groundless accusations.
What are your thoughts on this?
Right. To build on top of what Ki-yoon said, another method that we can do is to protect the teachers from these false legal attacks as well. What we can do is make the Ministry of Education be responsible for these allegations. So this way, teachers will feel that they're protected and they will be more confident and they will feel safer to interact with students when they think it's necessary.
So these suggestions highlight the need for stronger institutional support and clearer accountability. And ultimately, teachers are better able to guide students when they know the system is standing behind them. So we also wanted to hear directly from our viewers. So we ran a poll on the Arirang News YouTube channel asking what's most needed to protect teachers' authorities. And here's what the results showed. So the largest share of respondents, 63%, said students who seriously disrupt learning should be removed from the classroom. Another 20% called for stronger penalties for false child abuse allegations, while 10% supported a unified complaint system to prevent direct parent-teacher conflicts. And just 7% said principals and superintendents should be given greater authority. So the results suggest that many teachers believe the most urgent priority is restoring a stable learning environment in the classroom itself and beyond policy and systems. However, we want to close with on a more positive note because Teachers' Day is also a chance to express our gratitude. So what would you like to say to a parent who has made a difference in your life, Ki-yoon?
There are many teachers that actually helped me to become a better student and a better person, but I just like to thank all of them for putting up with me and correcting me of all the things that I did wrong. I'm actually doing quite well right now. So I think that educational background really helped me to become a better person and excel in life. But I know how difficult it is to become a teacher because I have taught students myself, especially when you have to take care of so many students all at once. It's not an easy job. And look, not all teachers are great, but at the same time, not all students are academically thriving at the same time. But one thing for sure is that we need to have a common level of respect for each other, for teachers, students, and of course the parents as well. So if the three parties can actually communicate very well and work together, I'm sure all of these problems can be alleviated and become a more, I guess, peaceful, harmonized, fun learning atmosphere, because we've all gone through that, right? Even parents, they used to be students themselves as well. And I'm sure not all of them were great students. And they need to know that. And even teachers as well. They need to understand how much suffering they go through every day on a daily basis. But they love their job. That's where they started. But then hearing from Dominic, a lot of teachers dropping out after like 1 or 2 months, few months beginning, it really shows that Teachers' Authority has really died down. Whereas student rights have gone up. So I think we need to find a new balance moving forward.
So what about you?
I think Yoon just did a very good summary of what we talked about today. I just want to say thank you to the teachers. And now that I am a teacher, I understand how much of a difficult student I was. So to all my teachers, I'm sorry and I thank you.
So the teachers shape not only what we know, but also who we become. As today's discussion shows, protecting teachers is essential to protecting the future of education itself. And on this Teachers' Day, perhaps is the perfect time to thank the educators who helped guide us along the way. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation with News Gen. We'll be back on Monday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. Big thanks to Ki-yoon.
It's always a pleasure.
And also Wonbin.
Thank you for having me.
And to our viewers, thanks for watching. Hopefully you'll continue to meet great teachers in life because many of us are still waiting to feel like real adults. We are
News Generation.